was a for me more baby aqua any official pa so me more baby official pa I could celebrate Christmas about New Year made I said that I'm at Jam. I was for a year on the 7th December. I buy a cocoa to a month. Some I should go on when there's a tea in Nano. And no, and yes, I buy a barbecue on Commona. And NDC penny for copying war a year court or the recollection of a parliamentary seats now. NPP for Eric Clement said they belong to them now. So moon a father seat, and there a more court. Now I was for as a film. A lawyer Tamaklo coming out with strong evidence and videos here. Hi, I was for I know here, papa. And now say video so na ma NDC for any gurus no but so I was for me the answer me company bomb video the video no say and but Ghcelebs TV and then the copy channel so subscribe the national link to the back for so and can video me that was so now back come on.
The NDC says for mandamus to lie at common law there are certain conditions that ought to be met. First, there has to be a demand to the body you are requiring them to make that to perform that duty, and that demand should be clear and unequivocal. They say that at common law as well, the body should have refused not to perform that function before you can come back. You can actually go to court for mandamus application. And they argue that the letters exhibited by the NPP does not show anywhere that they made a specific demand to the Electoral Commission to actually collate the results, and they don't see any rejection also on the part of the Electoral Commission. And so that condition precedent, in the words of the lawyer for the NDC, Tamaklo, then the court cannot entertain the mandamus application. He also goes to say that declaration has been done, and he put out videos of the 4 candidates in these constituencies being declared. He says they believe that the declaration has happened, and once the declaration has happened, the election has been concluded. The powers of the court to enter into it can only be through an election petition. He believes that the NPP's case is to question the veracity of the declarations, which he believes goes into the substance of an election petition. And so he, one way or the other, re-argues the preliminary objection that he had brought to court earlier. And based on all these, he's urging on the court to dismiss the applications, and he's urging on the court to dismiss the applications, and also then by so doing, then what it means is that the NPP or the Electoral Commission cannot go back and do the collation. He's saying that if the NPP really has any issues whatsoever with the declarations that have been done and the results, then they now have to come back to court by way of a petition. And so after 6 hours, the court decided that it would take 2 days to review the arguments, to read the relevant laws that have been cited, and then hopefully on Saturday, January 4, 2025, the judge has given an indication that he'll give a ruling on the matter.
NDC's Director of Legal Affairs, Edudzi, let's attempt to speak to him. Well, we can understand, since the court is yet to pronounce its ruling, they are yet to speak to us. Your shots at what you can hear, some NDC supporters singing there. Well, you can hear supporters of the National Democratic Congress NDC singing and chanting here. I think we see the Ablekuma North parliamentary candidate for the party here. Let's attempt to get a word from him.
Throughout the proceedings, you heard the argument, the lawyers made the case for you. What do you feel now? You have to come back on Saturday to know your fate. You're about 2 or 3 days before the swearing-in. How does that feel?
Delay is not denial. I mean, we were all in the courtroom. It's been 6 hours of sitting. And no matter how the NPP decide to twist and turn issues, we are all privy to events. So I have no doubt that the will of the people will still stand.
Are you satisfied with arguments raised on your behalf?
Our council is doing a brilliant job. I mean, the whole team are doing a brilliant job.
Thank you very much. NDC is a parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North. We have the parliamentary candidate for Kaikwe Central, Baba Sadiq, here. Let's hear from him as well.
Yes, I've always been confident that it will be affirmed. We're hopeful. Let's see how Saturday goes. We wait for the ruling on Saturday. But we're very confident that with the case that we put before the judge and the strength of the authorities we cited, I mean, this shows that this will be affirmed.
But how did you take the preliminary objection that was overruled by the courts earlier?
Well, you can only be grateful to the courts when the decision was made. A bit surprising, but however, we are grateful to the court. And then obviously you saw how we advanced our case, which meant that we were very prepared from the get-go. And so on the basis of how we advance our case, I think that we can only expect a very good outcome on Saturday afternoon.
The argument has been made that only 110 polling stations were declared out of 148, and that's 78%. Were declared in your constituency, for which reason you were declared MP elect, and that should not be allowed to stand.
But what was the basis in the first place? I mean, the EC, the returning officer, or the EC can't just unilaterally decide to declare just a few polling stations instead of the total polling stations. There was a particular reason. What was the particular reason? When we sat together with our opponents, together with the EC officials, and went through it polling station by polling stations, both of us, all of us, identified that the 31 polling stations, there was a challenge. What was the challenge? The challenge was that figures had been swapped, and that was the point that we made. I have made the point severally that we don't create pink sheets. The pink sheets that's given to us, it's from the EC. And so there is a famous saying from our opponents where they make a case. I think it was Dr. Bamiya that said that the evidence is on the face of the pink sheet. I have a pink sheet from you as EC. And from EC, the figures on the pink sheet that you've given to me shows that I've won in 31 polling stations. And if these 31 polling stations is added to the 110, it puts me ahead and I beat my opponent to 2,352. You know, a gap of 2,352. However, during the collation, we find out that the figures that is coming from the collation are different. So this is what we pointed out, you know, and it's surprising the stance they're taking because my opponent's agents were in the room at the time and they had agreed. In fact, the suggestion, from what I understand, came from them. I didn't initially agree that the 31 police stations be set aside because I knew that this was my numbers. I was going to be disadvantaged, you know. So, I mean, it wasn't a case. We still stand that. I mean, if the 31 police stations with the pink sheet that we have given to us by the ECs, anything to go by, we would have won the election. We would have won the election, in fact, you know. And if it comes to Kaikwe Central, for instance, there are some police stations that the NDC has never ever won in these police stations. This time around in 2024, we won a number of these police stations. Interestingly, whilst everybody is there, pink sheet shows that you've won. You come to collation and the figures has been swapped. You know, and so that's the point that we made during the collation. Before the EC themselves, they have their own policies. We are not the ones that decide for the EC what to do regarding declaration. They went in and they did the declaration. As it stands now, that detailed declaration, I think, to be fair, has been done.
And that's why you disagree that it was done under duress.
Of course, I mean, it was never done under duress. I mean, it will require a whole court petition to be able to determine some of these issues that they brought. But be satisfied, some of you were in court, you heard them. The narrative of duress was largely missing. You know, in our case, for instance, I mean, when my opponent had written to the EC, the letter that was read in court, for instance, he was reiterating to them or affirming that the declaration had been done. He only wanted it to be revoked because of irregularity and coercion. These are two different ways. I mean, if you break it down. So yeah.
Well, on a personal level, we've seen you at collation centers. We are seeing you in court all throughout. The same cannot be said of your opponent. What does this suggest to you?
I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, this takes us back to what's a story in the Bible where there were two women fighting over a child, and one woman had said that when they had gone to the arbiter or the chief, Ghcelebs, to adjudicate the matter, and there was a suggestion that the child be cut into two. One woman was emphatic, yes, cut the child into two. One woman was rather projecting that, no, you can't do this. This is my child. This is quite similar. You know, we have won the election. We know the work that went into winning the Kaikwe Central for the first time. You know, we know the work that went into the campaigning. We know the work that went into elections management of the elections really. We know the work that went into overall the campaign for 2024 and the elections management. We know the work we did relative to collation. That was why we were confident from the get-go that we had won the election. We were the first to put out our figures, 52.92%. And we knew the gap with which we are beating our opponent, 2,352. We knew all of these things because our elections management was superior. We'd done our collations and everything showed. Only if you come to collation again and realize that some of the figures had been swapped, you know, and that's at that particular point, it borders on criminality, you know, and when figures are being swapped at will, when pin sheets are being fraudulently recreated, you know, I mean, it creates an issue of criminality in that instance. You know, so we have been emphatic from the get-go that we had won the election, and we had also been emphatic that at any forum to discuss or to adjudicate it, it would have only affirmed that the NDC won in the Kaikwe Central.
Baba, thank you so much for speaking to us. We wish you all. All right, Baba Sadiq there, the NDC's parliamentary candidate for Kaikwe Central, singing and chanting all over the court premises here, the High Court in Accra. Quite enthusiastic NDC supporters who had gathered here, still chanting and singing. Not too sure what the excitement is about, but of course you can deduce from the fact of the general elections and how it went. And so, well, quite specific, these are chants for the Kaikwe Central constituency, and so you can hear the singing and the chanting ongoing here. So the court today has set January 4, 2025 to give its ruling on the mandamus application by the NPP to have the EC collate results in 4 constituencies whose parliamentary results are being disputed. Earlier, the court dismissed the preliminary objection raised by the NDC regarding the jurisdiction of the court to hear the mandamus application. So, I mean, these are some elated supporters of the NDC singing and chanting enthusiastically, not too sure what for, but obviously excited, obviously elated here at the High Court in Accra.
We have won.
So those were some chanting.